What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Season 5's Inside Line podcast. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson.
And I am Avril.
Coming up a bit later in the show, we'll be chatting with sports psychologist Sarah Taylor. But before we get into all of that, Tia, tell me what's been going on in your life.
In this last week.
Yes.
Okay, so I finally went to go see Beyonce. I feel like we were at the tail end of the tour in general. So I'm like, everybody has seen it 3 and 4 times over. But the concert was absolutely amazing. Yeah. And it was so cool to see all the mommy-daughter duos out there, the costumes and stuff. I'm like that. I like a little theme situation. I didn't realize how much I liked it until I seen everybody else like really into it. So it was good.
The party planning portion of like all of that. Like, I'm going to come with this outfit and I'm going to match, because Beyonce told everybody to bring their A game. So I feel like people really took that to heart. And listen, that woman's been doing it for a long time. So I give it to her. Did you see that? I think I sent this to you. Did you see there's a lady in Beyonce's band?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw you send it to me. I did not see her on stage, but she was killing it.
Killing it, y'all. She was probably a solid 7 months pregnant. What did you say, 7 months?
Low-key, maybe like 8 or something. 7
or 8, playing a trumpet. Like, she's been pregnant her entire pregnancy, going on tour with Beyonce. And she's out there belly out. Cute little crop top with her little skirt, just showing it all. And so shout out to her. We need to figure out her name, Tia, because I just felt like so much women empowerment seeing that, because I would never be brave enough to do that. But shout out to her for just trying.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Would you have done it? Because you see like all the pregnant girlies now, they are embracing the belly, which of course, to each his own. Like, sometimes it looks really cute. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's a big belly. But I should not say that, nor should I feel like that. But I was more of the, ooh, girl, you should probably like not bring that belly out.
For me, it was such new territory that I never really felt that empowered. And I know for me, it's more of like, I was a track girl in college, like college champ, like abs out. You always saw me with my abs out in college. I was wearing the little crop tops. And, I'm confident in that because I put in all the work, y'all. People don't know I put in a lot of work. But being pregnant is different kind of abs, okay? So it's not even that. You just have to be able to embrace the fact that it's not going to look like how you think it's going to look. It just is what it is.
Okay,
I never got
that. Is true. That is true, though, because even with me and Xander, the first 2 months when I was pregnant with Xander, I had the cute belly. I'm like, oh, look at her. I didn't know what it was. So cute. And girl, literally by like month 4, I was so big. And I was like, that's not cute. That's not cute to me. So, anyway, what about
how it started, how it's going?
Girl, it was only at 4 months. It was huge and not cute. Like a little basketball situation.
Oh, I feel
what'd you do this weekend?
Football. Football is my life now, y'all. I have it on all levels. I have my younger son, Nehemiah, he's in high school football. Then I flew and saw my son in college for college. And, Sundays is all about
football,
the NFL. So football. That's it. How about you?
We had sports this weekend, but it's interesting. So Lil Nate, or she's not Lil, I know Lil Nate did. Nehemiah got to see Nate actually play, right? Okay. See, Xander did not get to see Cliff actually play. He actually could care less about football. Now, sports, he's fine. He just like to go out there and socialize, and he's just naturally talented, so that gets him far enough. But my baby played, and he's played flag before, but he played flag with a different group, a more like structured, and you're running routes and you like all the things. They told that baby, you got the center. Like as soon as he snaps the ball, you got him. And Xander looked back. No, they didn't say snap the ball. Xander looked back like, who the hell is the center?
What's
like,
the center?
Who do you want me to go? And then he was taking like the longest route to get to the quarterback. I was like, oh, my poor baby. And then he walked over to the side and I was like, Mommy, I don't like this. He don't like yelling. He don't like, girl, he just do not. He's like, I don't like this. We don't have to come back here.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. But it'll change over time. It's just all new, new territory.
That's what it was. But I forgot. Like I just didn't think about it. I'm like, oh, he does not know. He does not want to sit and watch football when Zay is playing flag. He's on his iPad. Like he just doesn't care about that sport. So that child did not know what was going on. He was so confused. But
enjoy while you can, because it goes so fast. It really does. I remember those days like yesterday. Okay, one thing I want to say before we get into our interview.
Okay.
I want y'all to know that we have now grown from, I think we started with 2 teams with fantasy football. We're now up to 5 teams for fantasy football. And for our fantasy football girls that are playing.
When she says teams, she means leagues. But
leagues. I'm sorry. 5 leagues. We have 5 leagues versus 2. For all of the girls that are playing, we have picked a name, and we're going to announce the winner of the most creative name for a fantasy football team. And you will receive our new Inside Lines Season 5 t-shirt, which is amazing. And we're going to start selling those soon too. So y'all stay tuned for all the fun things we're doing this year in Season 5. So listen, if you forgot to put your name in, you got about 2 seconds, because we're announcing on Friday.
Drop your names. Right. I've seen a few that I like.
Me too.
Y'all got real creative on it. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about those. We'll announce next week who the winner was and what the winning name was, because that is fun. I love the creativity that these ladies come up with. Okay, y'all. Let's get into our interview with Sarah Taylor. But let's talk about Sarah Taylor, Tia.
Yes.
So Sarah Taylor is a sports psychologist with the PGA.
And let's talk about how you know that's a thing, but you don't know that's a thing, right? Like, and which we talked to Sarah about it in general. Just like some of these positional players have, actually all players can sometimes come across like different mental blocks, because they are dealing with a lot of stuff off the field. They're dealing with course, all the things, and a lot of stuff on the field. So it was cool for her to kind of break down what she does with these players, how her position is being rolled out to all these other leagues and things of that nature. And Sarah's just dope. She's dope.
Yeah, she is. And she also loves to give back. She gives back to My Cause, My Cleats, as well as the Tim Tebow Foundation. So let's go ahead and get into our chat with our girl, Sarah Taylor. Sarah Taylor, welcome to the show. How are you?
Ladies, thank you for having me. I'm great. I'm just kind of trying to have, an inhale, exhale moment, but I'm so grateful to have a conversation with you ladies.
So let me tell y'all something, how amazing she is.
Oh, God.
I don't know. You guys don't really know how this works, but Sarah was just in Cincinnati. Trent was with the Cincinnati Bengals, and they just left, and they are now a week later in Chicago, and she is still coming on the show. First of all, I want to commend you for that, because we all know how crazy moving and transitions are.
Listen,
tell everybody about that.
Well, I'm just so happy to be here with you guys, but it has been a busy week. I mean, so it's funny. I was waking up today and I couldn't even remember what day it is, and then trying to balance work, myself, and get him situated and up there. I mean, he's, he does really well with this. I feel like if you're in the NFL, you have to be good at adjusting and pivoting.
Yeah.
But when did it take? I'm trying to just reflect for a moment. I think, it wasn't last week. It was 2 weeks ago. Okay. So kind of like final cuts happened on, it was on Monday. And then again, it was kind of a little bit of a surprise to us. The Bengals released him, and right away I was kind of, he's got a great agent, and his agent often, will call me and tell me what's up, which is great, because a lot of women don't know what's going on, especially, whether it's a significant other or wife, it doesn't matter, because a lot of times the guys don't know what's going on.
Right.
So his agent keeps me really well informed. So I was really grateful for that. So we were ready for anything. And again, it was a surprise, but I have always gone into the NFL with the mindset of, we're going to be mobile. We're not going to treat one place too much like home, because we got to be ready to go.
How long were you guys with Cincinnati?
We were there for 2 years. And before that, we were with the Niners for 4 years.
San Fran, yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So it's been great. And it's been so fruitful. But we stay mobile. You ladies know you got to stay mobile. I mean, just in life, you have to be ready to adjust and pivot. So when it all kind of happened, there were teams that were already kind of ahead of it. And he hadn't officially been released and teams were inquiring. So that's a good place to be in. Yeah, I was so grateful. And I might be biased, but he's earned that. You know what I mean?
Yes, he has.
So I like to brag on him because I feel like he's earned the right to be in that position. But it felt really, really nice. But he was going. And I was immediately, at the potential spots looking up, where could we live? What do we, just getting data, getting it all,
doing
sorted.
all that work.
Yes,
that people
the
don't
back
know.
end logistics.
Yes.
And what's nice about my job is, I work with professional athletes too. So they get it and they're so supportive. So if I need to be away for a second, they get it and they're so great. So
nice.
that's been really nice too. But so Chicago was seemed like the best fit, and it was it happened so fast. I've just been kind of doing the whole apartment search, house search, that type of thing. And what's really nice is, we don't have kids, so I commend the women that do it with kids. I have no clue. And we're really we live full time in Nashville in the off season. And so Nashville to Chicago is not even bad. Yeah. And I can jump on a flight and be there quick. And and it's like a 7-8 hour drive, not bad. I just think about, my heart goes out to the women, not only with kids, but then they're moving across the country, so there's so many. The wives really just shout out to all the wives out there, especially with kids, and they're holding it down. And there's so much, behind the scenes that people just don't see. And, there's often this, everybody thinks that the NFL is so glamorous, and we're blessed, and I am grateful, and it's been fruitful. But there is a lot of grit and grind that goes on in the back end, especially for the guys too, but the wives and the partners or the parents, there's a lot that they do as well to kind of set them up for success. So it's been a couple weeks, ladies, but but I'm excited about it. It's a fun feeling. We're really excited to explore somewhere new, and that's my favorite part about this journey is we're finding all these cute little, adventures, and you get to explore this new city you would have never lived in probably.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yesterday we were just exploring, and this might be the cutest little town we've lived in for football so far. So I'm really excited. Yeah,
I will say you've lived in some pretty fun cities. Like big cities where there's lots of options. You could, no matter who you are, you should be able to find something to, locate your tribe in some fit form of fashion, I'm sure. Yeah.
And I do want to shout out the Bears too, because they've been really helpful with this. Not every NFL team is the same logistically, which I have found very interesting. Like maybe another day I can give you some tea and go into the details, but the Bears have been so great and have done everything they can to make this transition as smooth as possible. And we haven't really experienced that everywhere that we've gone.
You know what it is? It's been a lot of women, of course, going to like the NFLPA meetings, or even just quick structure here. Like here in Seattle, we have, the player development guy who's Mo, and now he has a full team up under him. And one of his staff members is strictly dedicated to making sure the wives and the families have a smooth transition and a great experience, right? And from talking to them, and then of course some other women, like I said, that have been going to NFLPA meetings, that has been the number one complaint, is that the wives and the significant others feel like they've been left out 100%. And like their well-being, whatever. So a lot of the teams are really now starting to this huge push to like make sure people are welcomed and settled and have the tools they need. So it sounds like the Bears have been ahead of the game with that too, because you're not the first person I said the Bears had a good experience.
Yeah, and the Niners were probably what we've experienced so far the best at it all. I have never felt so incredibly. Every fiber was taken care of. Every piece of the puzzle was taken care of by them. I mean, they really do it good over there, and you can understand that why they're successful year after year. they treat the family like they're a player because they do have a huge role in it. And that was really special too. But yeah, the Bears, they've been incredible. And yeah, like I have a number now if he were to ever get injured where I can talk to somebody and know what's going on. You know, that was another thing. You used to have to look for it. Yeah, it's the little things of what if he got injured and some teams are lacking that. So yeah, it's interesting. And I wish eventually my hope is that it would get to a standard default where every team has to have these things.
I'm going to talk to you about that after this because there's something that I have brewing with that. So we're going to talk because I think it would really be
I can't wait to hear. Integral. I'm sure you have stories. I want to hear.
But speaking of stories, we always know about the NFL player. Let's talk about who Sarah is because there's always behind every great man. We all know it's a great woman supporting him, cheering him on, and just helping him, but we don't often hear about that. So let people know who Sarah Taylor is.
Who is Sarah Taylor? That's a great question. I feel like, I kind of just... I feel like my purpose in life is to just try and brighten the world by reflecting who Jesus Christ is. Yes, and some days I really fail at that, let me tell you. But that is the goal every day. That is the goal. So that's kind of my life's purpose is to just try and brighten the world as much as I can, reflecting, who our Lord and Savior is. But I'm just, I think my goal too is to always just be a loving, selfless wife, sister, daughter, and, I'm a big into I love rescuing animals. I can't rescue them all, but I like to be involved in that process. So I think just I have a passion for giving a voice to the voiceless and the vulnerable. That's something I'm passionate about. So yeah, I think just... I try to be, a bright light in the world, but again, I fail on days for sure.
We all do. I think we all do. But you also are a psychology major, so I think that's a lot. You're kind of interested in that side of the mind and how it works, and you're intrigued about that. A lot of people aren't. How did that come about for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's kind of a long story with that of do we want the spark notes or do we want the longer version? I think from being around athletes my whole life, I worked as a sports reporter for a while, and I would interview these players and realize that they were really struggling. And I kind of a consistent theme was there was just so much struggle and so much going on up here. And I kept thinking to myself, I wish I had something I could tell them, but I don't. That's not my competence. That's not what I'm here for. So I started exploring therapy and what would therapy look like with athletes? And came across sports psychology, and it's been a growing field. Obviously, now that mental health is more talked about. But back then when I was kind of first introduced to it, it was very, very small. Very few programs offered it. And so it was something I prayed about. And I actually had experienced some trauma in my life, and I had gone to therapy for several years. My therapist taught me how to use mental and psychological skills to train my mind to kind of work for me rather than against me in these situations that I was struggling with. And I kept thinking, that's made such a difference in my life. I know that can be applicable to these athletes who I see struggling. And so, as mentioned, after praying about it, my mom always told me, if it's meant to happen, God will open a door, and then you have to walk through it. And I felt like he opened the door for me. I ended up, you got something there?
Yes. Did you just see Demario Davis's post-game interview?
No, what is it?
Oh, okay. I'm going to send it to you afterwards. But he talked about the notion of when God knocks on the door, are you going to get up and open it? And it was this story with his family and all the things. But I'm here, you're the third person that did not hear the interview, but have a message from God with the notion of God knocking, and are you going to open up the door?
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I love that. That's valuable. And I think so many times we expect him to do all the work. It's like, well, we still got to get up and go through that door. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's opened it. So I felt like the door was open. So I ended up leaving my dream job as what I thought was my dream job, and went back to school, had to do, all the testing, the GRE just to get in, and ended up going back to grad school and grinding it out. And then it was a beautiful journey from there, and really kind of learning how the brain works, how the mind works, and how to train it, and how certain concepts can, help athletes when moments are big and challenging and tough and they're in the trenches. And not only that, I think the cool part is a lot of I say off the course because I work with mainly professional golfers, but a lot of the off the course stuff is so applicable to the on the course stuff. So it's been a really fun journey, but I would probably say I've learned more from the guys that I work with than they've learned from me. So it's just as fruitful for me, and it's been a fun journey, but that's kind of a little bit of how I got into the role that I'm in now.
Yeah. So to your point, there has been like a big push, especially in the NFL, with them putting people like you in the locker room, so to speak,
right,
so that you are available for the players, right? I know that I know what led you to sports psychology, but how do you actually get a role doing it, right? Because I feel like people don't really know how to just, okay, I want to be a therapist for this NFL player. You know what I'm saying? What did that process look like?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think the majority of people that I see in that role in the NFL locker rooms or in the NFL facilities are clinical psychologists. So and that's not what I do. They are a kind of a separate role of, they can prescribe medication and such, and they have a whole different level of training. More what I do is more of more performance. And so kind of what I decided to do was just build my own business. And that was really scary to me coming out of grad school. But again, it's the door that I felt God had opened for me, and felt like it was time to get a little bit uncomfortable. So I started just kind of building my business one person at a time. I remember someone always told me, it was a sports psychologist I had shadowed for a while, had always told me that if you just focus on doing good work, just do good work with the person in front of you, even if it's just one, just do really good work, the rest will take care of itself. And that's kind of how I started building my business. I was working with people in grad school, and then they would refer me to others, and then they would refer me to other people. So it kind of was this web. And I found that once I got into golf, it was the same thing of, I would work with, a guy, and his agent would, notice a difference and then refer me to other golfers within the agency. So, it's been a fun process for me because I've always worked in male dominated industries. But what I find is I've had really good experiences because I've always had one awesome guy or two awesome guys, males, that were willing to fight for me and be a voice that maybe I wouldn't have in this space and push me through the door almost, So I've been really blessed that way. Because again, coming from sports reporting and then, to professional golf, it's, there's just not a lot of females out there. But that's been the fun part is I think I've had some really cool males push me and push me through that door and help me along the way, which has been really cool.
Yeah, I think about your journey, going into sports reporting and then pivoting. Everybody has that pivot moment. And so kudos to you for trusting God and taking that leap, because we all know that's the hardest part is not, I trust God, but do I physically, do I mentally, do I spiritually have the strength to take that leap?
Right.
And you did. A lot of people struggle in that area. But I also commend you. I remember reading your story, and I remember reading about, I'll never forget the white chair film about you. And you are a shero in your own right.
Absolutely.
Talk about that. I think it's important to share, and I'm going to let you share it really quick. But I just want to say this. I think it's important to share because this is something all of us women do every day, not even thinking about it, right? We get up and we go on a run, or we go to try to run our errands, take care of, whatever we need to take care of. Yeah. And tell everyone or talk to them about what happened to you and why I say that you're my shero. We'll talk about that a little later. But
my heart, my goodness, it's exploding. I appreciate that, and that means a lot to me because, again, when you ask who Sarah Taylor is, that is a big part of who I am now, and I'm grateful for that because I have to use my voice and my story to inform others, especially women, So, my story begins back when I got my dream job in San Diego, and I was living in La Jolla, which is a really nice area. And so beautiful, and it was my first week living there. And I was, I'm an avid runner, and I was excited to, go out and explore the area. So I went for a run around noon, middle of the day. And as I was running, there was a man kind of bent over in the back seat. Looked like he was almost like getting groceries out of his car. And my antenna was up, but I was running with headphones in, blaring music, and just in my vibe. And he ended up turning around and grabbing me in this really aggressive way, and then lodging something in my chest. And keep in mind, this is a man who I don't know and have never seen in my life. And I immediately, my first reaction was, why is he touching me? I thought it was a joke. And I almost looked at him like, and then he got really aggressive. And I had this, it's so funny. It probably happened in a matter of seconds, but I had probably 2 million thoughts in my head I can remember each thought. And the second thought was, oh my gosh, no, this is happening. But I also couldn't believe that it was happening to me.
Right.
And then the third thought was, if you get in that car, you're going to die. And quick side note, I always have to reference this because it is such a crazy thing to me. I'll never forget in high school, I was homesick. And remember, if you're homesick, Oprah was on.
Oprah!
And I loved Oprah.
Yep, let's go.
So it's almost like, okay, I hate being sick, but I love that I get to watch Oprah. So I watched this episode where a woman was abducted and thrown into the back of a car. And this woman found a way to unlock the door. And she said there was this moment, he was driving on the freeway like 60 miles an hour. And she was like, all right, you have two choices here. You either jump out of this car or you have to live with what he's going to do to you. And jumping out of the car is going to be way better than whatever he's going to do to you. And I swear I heard her voice say, if you get in that car, you're going to die. And I thought of her courage. I don't even know this woman. I thought of her courage to jump out of that moving car. And I thought, you have to fight. And at that point, he already had my head. He had my hair, he had his hand locked in my hair. And I was looking down at the seat. He almost had me in the car. And I don't know what, it was the strength of the Holy Spirit came over me. I have taken self-defense for years, and I just went. I don't even remember what I did specifically, but I kicked, I punched. I couldn't scream right away, which was the scary part. I just think I was in so much shock, but eventually I could scream. I screamed, and he was really close to my face, like right here, and I just was locked in with his eyes the whole time, looking at him in the eyes, because I kept thinking, I'm not scared of you. I'm not going to be your victim. You are not going to take, my life is too valuable for you to take. And as I continued to look him in his eyes, I think he started to get weary. And that's when he started to break down and get a little weaker and continued to fight. And I did some maneuver where I was able to create separation. So he didn't have his hands on me anymore. And the thing that he lodged in my chest ended up being a taser. So he was actually tasering me the whole time. But again, strength of the Holy Spirit, I was able to continue. And I backtracked and ran into the middle of the road. I was ready to be hit by a car at that point. I could care less. And as I did that, a woman who looked around my age came driving down in her little Toyota Corolla. And I'll never forget it. I was screaming. I probably looked like I was on drugs or something. And I was like, please let me in. Your car, this man's trying to kill me. And I pointed and he had ducked down at that point, but she let me right in. And
tell everyone her name.
Yeah. So she took me, I said, I don't want you to take me to my apartment, but I want you to take me near it just in case he's following. And I said, you saved me. Can I just get your name? And she's like, yeah, my name's Sarah. What's yours?
Oh.
And so then I just start crying and I'm like, you are my angel. My name's Sarah. Like, I'll never forget you. And I still think about her all the time because I really do believe she was my angel in that moment. And so from there, I can't talk about it without thanking, the San Diego Police Department. They were on it right away. They had a helicopter out there. I had detectives and several police officers working on it right away. It was an ongoing thing, and it was extremely traumatic. But at the end of the day, they were able to come to the conclusion that it was not a stalking incident. It was, in fact, an attempted abduction for human and sex trafficking. So being in La Jolla, you're really close to the border, and really they just kind of snatch you, take you across the border, and then sell you off. So very scary. And then again, I didn't know much about human trafficking at the time. So then I'm doing a ton of research and finding out what's actually going on that nobody even knows. It's happening in our backyard. It's an underground slavery system. And began to be, that's when my passion for human trafficking really began as well, just because it was so personal and so horrific to know that this is happening on our soil. And so from that, obviously, I was left with, I wasn't even the same person. I was so scared of everything. I was so, I don't even know, you wouldn't even recognize the person that I was. And
you were traumatized, rightfully so.
Oh, absolutely.
Traumatized.
Had PTSD. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I'll never forget this. I saw him I had thought I'd seen him on my balcony, and just looking at me. And every night when I got home from work, I would check under my bed. I would check my closet. I'd check my shower curtain. I thought he would be hiding in there. And I would take my dog for a walk. And I remember I would see two people talking on a cell phone. And I thought in my mind, they were scheming, how are we going to take her and kill her? I just thought everyone wanted to kill me and that I wasn't safe and that I was going to die. I truly believed that deep down. So my mom ended up calling my local church and asking for a therapist recommendation. Went and saw this incredible therapist right away. And I've been working with her for 8 years. And she taught me how to, work through the trauma. And again, now it's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because it changed the trajectory of my life, and I couldn't be more grateful. And I know I survived for a reason, and I know that this is, it gave me a whole new purpose and a whole new passion for things I had no idea about. So it really made me. And, but I don't, if somebody listening to this is going through some sort of trauma, I don't want to diminish the fact that it took several years to get to that point. And took a lot of training my mind, relying on my faith to get through the really hard stuff. But there is light on the other side, and you can only God can take such pain and give you purpose. And we know that he makes beauty from ashes. I mean, look at the rainbow over the 9/11, the other day. Only God. So that's what I would say to anybody is put your hope and faith in him, and he's going to get you through it, and he can make beauty out of disaster. But like you were mentioning, women, my biggest message is to women of, take my story. I'm so normal. I do this all the time. And I would never thought it would have happened to me. And I was out in the middle of the day. And in a really safe area. So my message to women is always, look, we do not need to live in fear. Okay. So let's not live in fear, but let's train our confidence and let's have more awareness, and let's do these little things that are going to give us confidence that we can walk around, and feel like we're going to be okay. So I always tell women, first of all, have good awareness. I see too many women walking with their heads down, in their phone or with headphones on. If you like headphones, just use one, take the other out and be aware.
That's good.
Head on a swivel, And my other thing is when you're walking past somebody, don't walk with your head down, look them in the eye and say, hi, how are you? Then they know you've seen them. You acknowledge that they're there and you are not anybody's victim. You walk like your life is too valuable, And then I always just say, carry around a pepper spray. Don't post where you are when you're there on social media. That's the biggest thing. I tell these, my other fellow NFL wives, don't post where you're at when you're there. Post after if you want. That's fine.
Yep.
But, it's just the littlest things that go a long way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. And to your point, we live in these really nice areas. It's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like you don't think that is what's going on, right? Like you wouldn't have been able to pay. There's a huge trafficking issue here in Seattle too. And in my head, I'm like, who wants to traffic?
Right.
People all the way up here, but you have to be aware. Thanks for sharing the tips as well.
Yeah.
You had enough courage to go back. Talk about, going back and reliving that moment for you.
Like going back to where it happened or
where it happened. When you had to go back, how was that? Because to your point, you had been through a lot and, to get enough courage to go back is not easy.
Right. And I think that was the cool part of some work I did with my therapist is she said, listen, what if you went back to where it happened with some people that you loved and almost had a funeral for the person that he made you and this incident made you. And when you leave, it's a celebration because you're taking back who you are, and who you are is even better. And so we did that. I did that with a few of my close friends, and it was a really beautiful moment. And it's funny, every time I'm in the area, I do make a point to go back and just pay my respects to, I think it's just, in a sense, I never want to forget what happened. It's very easy to try and forget because it doesn't feel good. But I think it's important to remember the pain and all of the things that come with it, because eventually then you realize, no, this is what made me, this rigor, these, when you're in the trenches, that's what made me. And that's why life is so fulfilling now, because I don't take anything for granted, because when you see it, almost, taken away from you in a second, you really do have a new zest for life, it feels like. So yeah, it's hard to go back, but it is important, I think, because it's almost like remembrance for me. And it allows me, it's a little moment of reflection to realize how far I've come.
How far you are,
And just how strong you are. Like, I think that I just want you to understand, the way no one ever expects that to happen to them. No one. And you fought back to the point where you got away. And then not only that, but you put in the time and the effort and energy to heal and get better and share and bless other people. And that to me is like a 360 in a sense, right? Like, and then you go back there, you're getting, like, in each moment of everything that happened, you got stronger and stronger. And that's why I say you're a hero, because, things happen a lot of the time to a lot of people, but how do they deal? How do they deal with it? What do they get out of it? How do they get better? And how do they share those traumas with other people? You could have just stayed in your own bubble. You could have not said anything, but you're like, no, I'm going to make this something beautiful. And that's what you've done. So
that means a lot to me. That means a lot to me.
I have a question though for you, because we talk about, what started it and where you are now, right? The process in between, I think, is where people can get a little lost. And I know you said your therapist was able to show you how to strengthen your mind via different exercises and things of that nature. Would you mind sharing a few exercises that you used to get through that traumatic experience? Absolutely.
And I think you're right. Like, it takes a decision, and that's my hope for anyone. It's decide, that this is how it's going to be, because we do have that authority. And, I'm a pretty little girl. Like I'm petite, you know? So if I can get away, I promise you can get away. You just have to have the will. You know, that's my message is like, this guy was 6'4", you know what I mean? So like, it's possible. You just have to have the will. But, you know, a few things that really, really helped me in the journey and that I still do to this day are a few little daily habits. So I'm big on AM and PM routine. So an AM routine I think is important because I think it should be the first thing you do rather than get on the phone, because the phone's going to stress us out right away. Okay. And we don't want that to set the tone, you know? Right. So having a moment of stillness where you can just be and creating, again, it doesn't have to be a long checklist, but just moments where you're away and you can just start the day with some nice intention. And so kind of just, and she did this to help me take back control because I felt very out of control. And so I started my day off with, again, it's evolved as I've grown as a person, but today what I do is I start the day off with a few deep breaths because again, oxygen is energy, and it's really good just to, you know, clear whatever is going on up here. And then kind of I set like an intention for the day. Like, how do I want to be today? I want to be brave today, or I want to be present today, you know, and that can sound kind of, you know, rainbows and butterflies, but it does go a long way because then you can check in with yourself on your PM routine and say, did I do, you know, how did I do today? And maybe I was 75%. How do I get better tomorrow type of thing? So, you know, set an intention. And then my mom actually taught me to do this when I was really young, and that's called, it's 3 good things. So you simply just take pen to paper and write down 3 good things, 3 things you're grateful for. My mom taught me to do this at a very young age, and there have been so many credible studies that show that this is of value. In fact, there were participants where this simply doing 3 good things for 3 months cured people's depression. So, and really what it's training. On the positive and yes. It sounds so simple, but it's so valuable to just train ourselves to look for what's good instead of to scan for what's bad or what's wrong all the time. So again, it's just changing the lens on how you're seeing the day. So I've always done the 3 good things in the morning and then in the evening. I actually use the 5-minute journal now, and I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yes, I have it.
You do? Same. Oh my gosh, do you really? Yeah. Okay, so I love the 5-minute journal, and I think that's a really good place for people to start because it asks you, you know, 3 good things, and it has an affirmation. And usually I take my affirmation from what I read in the Bible that day of like, you know, something to affirm me in the word, but you can use it however you need. And then you circle back to it in the PM and check in on your day. And, you know, you write down 3 things you want to get done that day, whatever, and you check back in, and it's like a full circle. And I have found that to be incredibly helpful for me in every endeavor, work, wife, you know, daughter, whatever it is, whatever role. We're all performers. We're all performing at something. Right. So that's been really valuable for me. Spending more time in the Word. That was truly the main reason I was able to get through the really traumatic season was God's promises and how I saw His promises come to fruition. And I did. Have you ladies ever tried the prayer circle?
I have not.
What's the prayer circle?
So you write down what you're praying for.
Okay.
Oh, I love the prayer circle. So I just did this. I did my circle this morning, and so many prayers have been answered. It's so fun. So you write down the things you're praying for, and then, you know, you pray, you continue to pray. And then eventually, you know, as some days go by, you circle back. I think there's different ways you can do it. Like I do it monthly. So at the end of the month, I'll circle back to what I wrote at the beginning of the month, and you go through and see how has God answered this prayer. Because oftentimes we pray about something, but then we forget to realize, we don't relish in the fact that God answered that.
He answered it.
This is all I ever wanted. And
give him the praise
what I've been praying for.
It.
Yeah. And even if He didn't answer the way that I might have wanted it, look at how He answered it, and look at how much better it turned out to be, because His plan is greater than anything we could draw up.
That's
you know?
Good.
So the prayer circle
okay, I'm gonna have to start doing
was
that.
Good. Yes, you ladies keep me posted on your prayer circle, and then just basic journaling about how I'm feeling, things that trigger me, and then I ended up writing him a letter. The attacker, I wrote him a letter, and ultimately, I wrote him a few. The first wasn't pleasant, and then as the years progressed, I eventually forgave him in a letter. And I still try to pray for him once in a while, because if God, I read something recently in my Bible about, I can't remember exactly, but it just reminding us of how to pray for our biggest, offenders, enemies, and why that brings God glory and not the enemy,
Is he still, where is he now?
So it was a really long, multiple year situation of we actually found him, and they arrested him and everything. But then when it was time to eventually go to trial, they didn't. My detectives and the team kind of around me said that they weren't going to let it happen, because then he would know my identity, and they were worried about retaliation and just the things that could come with that. So that was really, really hard on me, because it didn't end the way I wanted. I wanted to put him away for good and expose this whole thing. But again, it wasn't really an option, because I didn't have an option in this. And they also said it would probably last us until my 40s. And they're like, we want you to move on. We want you to, not kind of relive this as we wait for a trial to happen. So it didn't again exactly go how I would have thought I wanted in the moment, but was able to work through that. So I actually don't know. I don't know where he is, and I don't know what he's doing, and I just pray that he's no longer overcome by evil.
Let's talk about forgiveness. We live in this culture. There's a lot of cancel culture. There's a lot of, someone offended me, so I no longer dealing with them or talking to them, so on and so forth. But what you did was so much bigger than what most people do. Is you learn to forgive someone that hurt you. Talk about how you got to that point and what made you decide to take that route of forgiveness.
It was a very long road, and I would say ultimately harboring all of those feelings of hate and disgust and confusion was only hurting me. He had already moved on, and he's doing his thing. I was sitting here hurting and thinking about obsessing over him and what he did and why did he do this and for what, and on and on and on. So at the end of the day, the hatred was consuming me, and it was transforming me into someone I didn't want to be. And ultimately, through many, many years, again, I don't want to move past the many years of intense work, because you don't just forgive someone overnight. It's just, it's hard, Yeah. Ultimately, I had years later, talking with my therapist and journaling quite a bit, I had this realization. I think it was around Easter, and I had rewatched, The Passion of the Christ. And I'm a visual learner, and I just remember, all of the things that Jesus, just seeing, again, it probably doesn't even come close to what he went through, but seeing what he went through, carrying his cross, being spit on, and taking so much hate from all these people. Right. And he's hanging on that cross after going through all of that and still forgiving these people. And it's not by my strength, but only by his. And it was that moment that made me realize, if he can forgive all of these people, I can forgive him. And it's what he's called me to do. And if I say that I'm a Christ follower, and if I really want to obey, this is what I'm called to do. And at the end of the day, if I forgive him, that's a win for God. Right. Then the enemy doesn't win. So I want to scratch up dubs for my guy. So I'm doing whatever it takes, you know what I mean? To allow him to take the glory for this and not the enemy. So
no, that's right.
Again, it was kind of taking me out of it of, Sarah, this one's not about you. We're going to do this. But at the end of the day, guess who it positively impacted? Me. Because I was free from all those heavy weights of hatred and confusion and, just living in the why me and the victim state. So again, taking me out of it and relying on something greater. So only by his strength was I able to actually find genuine forgiveness.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Okay, I want to fast forward a little bit. Again, you are a sports psychologist. You work with these professional athletes. And I know right now it's like mainly PGA, right? So it's funny. And I may get in trouble for saying this, but you know how like the players refer to kickers as like being mental midgets, meaning they can get in their head like quickly and get stuck, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's a phrase.
Right. Okay, so my assumption is that can kind of be the same for golfers, right? Like if they get in their head, they kind of get stuck and it's like this loop. What kind
it's
of
not an assumption to you. That
Well,
little ball is the devil. That little ball is stressful.
It really can be. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what type of tools and exercises do you do with them that could be applicable, that people can use in different aspects of their lives, whether, it's women trying to figure out what chapter 2 looks like, but, they're stuck in the past or whatever. But what kind of tools? What can they do?
Yeah. I love that because that, like I said, we are all performers. You don't have to be a professional athlete to be a performer. We're performing as mothers, wives, whatever you're doing in life, you're performing. So
That's
we
good.
all can use these tools. And you don't have to be a professional golfer to, practice, productive self-talk or train your confidence.
Yeah.
So there's things like I already mentioned, I'm a big routine person. So I'm having these, I'm having all the guys that I work with. Again, it's not a one size fit all. So it's really finding what works best for each individual. But I think finding time to carve out routines, an AM and a PM. If I could give everybody listening to this a couple of little things that I think tangible takeaways, it would be, let's establish an AM and PM. Okay. Wait 30 minutes before you wake up, or try 10 minutes, whatever, before you get on your phone. And find, is it sitting on a porch and just listening to the birds for a moment?
Okay, I need to take heed to that.
Thinking through things that you're grateful for, or writing 3 things down on paper. I always say, if it's not on paper, it's vapor. So let's get that thing down on paper.
Yes.
Love it.
Okay. Second thing is generate awareness to what you're saying to yourself. Okay. Oftentimes we are talking trash to ourselves without even being aware.
Yep.
And what do you think that's doing to our confidence? It's certainly not serving it. So become aware to what you're saying to yourself. And if it's not productive, let's change it. Okay. Yeah. And it starts with, I'm not good at that yet. Okay, so sometimes just adding the yet. I can't do that yet. Or I can, I am, I will statements. I can be great with my family. I am a strong woman in this household. I will be loving and teach, good values, whatever it is for you. So again, really productive self-talk, but you can't train that till you know where you're at. It all starts with awareness. And then finally, I would say, practice gratitude, because what gratitude does, like we talked about, it is changes the way that we see the world. The brain is hardwired to keep us safe, okay? Because you have to think, like, back in the day, there were real threats like saber-toothed tigers or whatever. And so our brain is hardwired to scan to only find the danger to keep us safe. And that's awesome. But there's a lot of times that we don't need that. Like, whether you're on the golf course or whether you're home with your kiddos, we sometimes detect threats that aren't real threats. So
intrusive thoughts.
Exactly. Exactly. And everyone experiences this. So what we have to do is kind of train our mind to override those things and kind of see what's good rather than always, what the threat is. And I mean, I could keep going. I think
this is good.
Breathing is important.
Yes.
Practicing breathing. And then one last thing for your PM routines, it takes 30 minutes of no screens for our brain to produce natural melatonin, which is the best melatonin that ever existed. So the little gummies, they're not great. We have natural melatonin, but we have to have 30 minutes of no screen. So my challenge for anyone and everyone listening is try to, when you decide, let's say I'm going to bed at 9:30, so let's set an alarm for 9. I tell my loved ones good night on the phone or whatever, whoever you need to talk to. You put that thing away and you spend 30 minutes however you'd like, but just without that screen. And you might be surprised that if you do that consistently, how much better you can sleep. And we know that sleep is important.
That's good.
Rest and recovery is huge. The rest can't happen without our brains being fully rested and recovered. So I don't know. I'm all over the place because I love this stuff so much. But
this is so awesome.
Hopefully there's something that someone can take away and maybe try.
Look, I
love it.
I got a whole list.
I know it was great. You're amazing, and we thank you for sharing. And I'm sure you probably have more people slide in your DM to ask more questions, but that's a good thing because this is exactly what you want. So
I will answer any question that anyone may have. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna play a game called the 2-minute drill.
Oh my gosh.
You know all
Deep
about
breaths.
the 2-minute drill.
Deep
Your
breaths.
man was a receiver too, so you know exactly what this means. So get ready. And we need a touchdown here, Sarah. You ready?
Oh, okay. I can do this. I will do this.
Okay. All right. The 2-minute drill starts now. Breakfast or no breakfast?
Breakfast.
What's the most important lesson you've learned this year?
Be present and enjoy each moment as it is.
That's good. What are you most thankful for?
Oh, my Lord and Savior, my husband, and my 2 little rescue baby dogs.
Oh, I love that.
Would you like to be famous? And if so, in what way?
Famous in God's eyes, and I'm good. I'm good, honey.
That's right. Hang with friends at home or go out with friends?
Hang at home. Oh, give me those sweats all day, every day.
Would you rather your camera roll or your browser history go public?
Oh, that is
Y'all
awful.
should see her face.
Probably camera roll. My browse history, I wouldn't have a job.
What impresses you?
I am most impressed when people are consistent. Like when people are consistently themselves all the time, they don't change for anybody. I think that is the most impressive thing.
If you could change one decision you made when you were younger, what would it be?
I know this is cliche, but I don't think I would change anything just because I think every decision got me to where I am now, and I'm really grateful for where I am.
Okay, last question. What would you say to little Sarah?
Oh, I love that question. And I actually ask people that question as well. I would tell little Sarah, you don't change for anybody. Keep that zesty spirit. And you are perfectly made. You are beautifully and wonderfully made by God. Don't change anything about yourself. And just stay true to yourself and keep him first, and you will go far.
Right on the buzzer.
I know.
No way.
No, it was 1 second left. When as soon as you finish, it was 1 second
I
left.
got to tell my husband, hey,
Touchdown.
put me in, coach.
He would be proud. He would be proud.
That's right.
Now, Sarah, if people want to get a
Amazing.
hold of you, where do they find you if they want to get a hold of you?
I am on Instagram. I'm awful at checking all of my stuff, but I still do try and check it. I think I'm Sarah JC Taylor, and I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and I think like my email's on there if someone really wanted to email me. But yeah, other than that, I'm pretty low key.
Nice. I'll be sure to put links to all of you, wherever everybody can find you, in the show notes.
Oh, I just love you guys. I wish I could give you a
much for
hug.
joining. I know we're going to do a virtual hug, but we'll hopefully do one in person. Thank you for joining us. You are amazing. Love your story. And like I said, you are my shero. So thank you for being vulnerable enough and strong enough to share. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for doing what you ladies do and having these important conversations and showing all the incredible women out there.
All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. That is our show. For the latest on the Inside Lines podcast, make sure to follow us at Inside Lines Podcast on both Instagram and Facebook.
You can also listen online and share your favorite episodes at our website, which is insidelinespodcast.com. And if y'all don't know by now, we have a YouTube channel. That's right. Follow us at Inside Lines Podcast and make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you get all the notifications when the new episode comes out.
Until next time, leave it all out on the field. Thanks for listening.